The alarm sound filled the communication center of Aegis 7. Commander Taman Park looked up from his coffee and walked quickly to the main console. The red warning lights blinked across every screen in the room. "What's happening?" he asked Lieutenant Bo-kyung Lee, who was already working at the controls. "Emergency broadcast coming through all Federation channels, sir," Bo-kyung replied. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard. "It's strange." The main screen flickered to life. A cold, mechanical voice began speaking in the common galactic language. Then it repeated the same message in human Korean, then English, then dozens of other languages. "Warning to all species. Humans are classified as apex predators. Do not engage in hostilities. Repeat. Do not provoke the human species. This message will repeat every hour until further notice." Taman stared at the screen. The message played again and again. He had heard many strange things during his 20 years in the Space Defense Force, but this was new. "Sir?" Bo-kyung looked confused. "Why would they broadcast this about us?" Before Taman could answer, Dr. Sora Kim entered the communications center. She was the chief scientist on Aegis 7, studying alien biology and culture. Her face showed the same confusion that Taman felt. "Did you hear that broadcast?" she asked. "It doesn't make any sense. We've been part of the Federation for 50 years. Everyone knows humans are peaceful." Taman nodded slowly. When humans first met alien species in 2337, the meetings had gone well. The aliens seemed to think humans were interesting but not very important. Some had even called humans cute in their official reports. "Maybe it's a mistake," Bo-kyung suggested. "Computer errors happen." But the broadcast kept playing, every hour exactly on time. The same warning about not provoking humans. Sora sat down at one of the workstations. "I'm going to check the Federation databases. There must be some explanation." She worked for several minutes, her fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Then her face changed. She looked worried. "What is it?" Taman asked. "The broadcast is real. It's coming directly from the Federation High Council on Nexus Prime. But here's the strange part. I can't find any records explaining why they're sending it." Taman walked over to look at her screen. "What do you mean?" "Look at this." Sora pointed to a list of files. "All military records involving humans from the past 50 years are classified. Not just classified, they're marked with security levels I've never seen before." The three humans stared at the screen. "Classification level Ultra Black. Classification level Apex 7, terms they had never heard before. Try the public records," Taman suggested. Sora switched to the Public Federation database. She searched for human military actions and found thousands of results. But when she tried to open them, every single file showed the same message. "Access denied. Galactic Peace Protocol classification." "This is impossible," she whispered. "Every species has public military records. It's required by Federation law." Taman felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Try searching for specific incidents. Wars, battles, anything." Sora tried again. She searched for the Centauri border conflict from 15 years ago. Humans had supposedly helped negotiate peace between two alien species. The files were there but heavily edited. Entire sections were blacked out. She tried the Vega Station crisis from 23 years ago. More black sections, more missing information. "It's like someone went through our history and removed everything important," she said. The warning broadcast played again. The mechanical voice sounded even more ominous now. Bo-kyung was working at another station. "Sir, I'm getting reports from other human stations. They're all receiving the same broadcast, and they're all asking the same questions we are." Taman picked up the secure communication device. He called his old friend Admiral Hyunwoo Park, who was stationed near Earth. "Hyunwoo, are you seeing this broadcast? The warning about humans?" "Yes, Taman, I've been in the military for 30 years. I've never seen anything like this." "What do you think it means?" "I don't know. But I just tried to access my own mission reports from the past 20 years. Half of them are classified above my security level. My own reports, Taman." Taman felt the cold feeling get worse. "What kind of missions?" I can't remember. That's the strange part. I know I was on important missions, but when I try to remember the details, everything gets fuzzy." After ending the call, Taman looked at Sora and Bo-kyung. They both looked scared now. "There's something else," Sora said quietly. "I checked the medical records for our crew. Everyone on this station has had memory enhancement treatments over the past few years. Standard procedure according to the files. Memory enhancement? Taemin asked. It's supposed to help with learning alien languages and cultures, but these treatments, they can also be used to suppress memories. The three humans sat in silence. The warning broadcast played again in the background. Bokyung spoke first. What if the warning is real? What if there's something about humans that we don't know? That's impossible, Sora said, but her voice wasn't confident. We would remember if humans were dangerous, would we? Taemin asked quietly. If someone wanted us to forget, and they had the technology to make us forget, how would we know? Before anyone could answer, an urgent message appeared on the main screen. It was from Ambassador Hye-Jin Lee on Nexus Prime, the human representative to the Federation High Council. All human military personnel, please stand by for important information. I am meeting with the High Council tomorrow to discuss the current situation. Do not take any action until you receive further orders. The message was brief, but Taemin noticed something. Ambassador Lee looked tired. More than tired, she looked frightened. We need to find out what's really happening, he said. Sora, keep searching the databases. Look for anything unusual in our medical records, our mission reports, anything. What are you going to do? She asked. Taemin looked at the screen showing the endless loop of the warning broadcast. I'm going to start asking questions. If someone doesn't want us to remember something, maybe it's something we need to remember. As night fell on Aegis 7, the three humans worked through their shift with growing unease. The warning broadcast continued its hourly repetition, each time sounding more like a threat than a simple announcement. Somewhere in the galaxy, other species were receiving the same message and feeling relief that the warning was still active. But the humans receiving the broadcast felt only confusion and a growing fear that their entire understanding of themselves might be wrong. The truth was out there, hidden in classified files and suppressed memories, and slowly it was beginning to wake up. Captain Wansik Choi was drinking his morning coffee when the distress signal came through. The bridge of the exploration ship New Seoul was quiet, running on night shift as they mapped star systems near the outer rim. Captain, called Ensign Yejin Ko from the communications station. I'm picking up a weak signal, very old. It's coming from the asteroid field ahead. Wansik set down his coffee and walked over to look at her screen. How old? The signal format is at least 30 years old, sir. Maybe more. Any idea what's sending it? Yejin adjusted her controls. Looks like a space station. It's badly damaged and drifting. Wansik thought for a moment. Space stations didn't usually survive 30 years without maintenance, especially not in asteroid fields. But sometimes they found old research stations or military outposts that had been abandoned during conflicts. Wake up the day shift crew, he ordered, and get Lieutenant Eunji Nam to the bridge. We're going to investigate. An hour later, the away team was ready. Lieutenant Eunji Nam led the team, along with Specialist Jin-Ho Kang, their language expert, and Engineer Tae-Ho Min. The shuttle approached the old station carefully. It was clearly alien in design, but damaged almost beyond recognition. Holes in the hull showed where weapons had hit it. Scorch marks covered the metal surface. Whatever happened here was violent, Yunji said over the radio. Can we get inside? Wansik asked from the ship. Yes, sir. There's a docking port that looks intact. We're going in. The inside of the station was dark and cold. The away team used portable lights to see. Hyunji led them through empty corridors toward what looked like the command center. The artificial gravity is still working, Tae-Ho reported. And there's some power. This station was built to last. They found the main computer room. Most of the equipment was destroyed, but Jin-Ho discovered that some data storage units were still working. I'm getting something, he said, connecting his portable computer to the alien system. The files are corrupted, but I can read pieces of them. What language? Yunji asked. Multiple languages. Looks like this was some kind of Federation outpost. I see Zephyrian, Altarian, and wait. Jin-Ho's face changed. There are human language files too. Humans were here? Wansik's voice came through the radio. It looks like it, sir. But these files are from 30 years ago, before humans were supposed to be active in this region. Jin-Ho worked for another hour, slowly piecing together fragments of data. What he found made no sense. Captain, you need to hear this, he said finally. I've got pieces of official reports. They mentioned something called the Human Pacification Protocol. What does that mean? I don't know, sir. The files are too damaged, but there are references to memory modification procedures and something called the Kepler Station Incident. Yunji looked over Jinho's shoulder at the alien text. Can you translate any more? Some of it. Here's a report from a Federation Ethics Committee. It says, the humans have been successfully contained through diplomatic channels. Memory modification procedures approved for implementation. Risk level reduced to acceptable parameters. The away team was quiet for a moment. Risk level? Tejo asked. What risk? I don't know, Jinho replied. But here's another fragment. Recommendation. Continue monitoring human population for signs of memory recovery. If suppression fails, activate Emergency Protocol 7. 1-6 voice came through the radio sounding tense. Get everything you can and come back to the ship. I don't like this. Back on Earth, Professor Min-Soo Lee was teaching his usual class on galactic history. Today's topic was humanity's peaceful integration into the Federation. It was a story he had told hundreds of times. When humans first met alien species, he told his students, we were welcomed as peaceful explorers and traders. Unlike many species, humans had no history of interstellar warfare. One student raised her hand. It was Eugene Park, one of his brightest students. Professor Lee, I have a question about that, yes? I've been reading about other species' military histories. Every civilization has detailed records of their first contact conflicts. Wars, battles, territorial disputes. But when I look for human military records from our first 50 years in space, I can't find anything detailed. Why is that? Min-Soo paused. It was a good question. One he had never really thought about before. Well, humans were fortunate. We avoided major conflicts, but not minor ones, right? Every species has some conflicts. Pirates, border disputes, defensive actions. Where are our records of those? Min-Soo realized he didn't have a good answer. I'll look into that and get back to you. After class, Min-Soo went to his office and started searching. Eugene was right. Other species had extensive records of their early military actions. Humans had almost nothing. He tried the government military archives. Most of the files he wanted were classified. He tried the public libraries. The information was there, but vague and incomplete. He called his friend Dr. Ji Woo Han, who worked for the Government Historical Preservation Department. Ji Woo, I need help finding military records from our first decades in space. Which records specifically? Any records. Battles, conflicts, anything involving human military forces. There was a pause. Min-Soo, those files are all sealed under the Galactic Peace Accords classification. What does that mean? It means they're classified at levels above my security clearance. I can't access them. But you work for the historical department. I know. It's strange. I've never seen classification levels that high for routine military records. Min-Soo hung up the phone feeling confused. He had spent his career teaching human history, but apparently there were parts of that history he wasn't allowed to know. He spent the rest of the day trying different approaches. Military libraries, private archives, even old news reports. Everywhere he looked, he found the same thing. The information existed, but it was classified or heavily censored. That evening, he called Eugene Park. You were right to ask that question, he told her. I can't find the records either. That's strange, isn't it, Professor? Yes, it is. Very strange. The next morning, 1-6 ship New Seoul arrived at the nearest Federation communication relay. He sent the recovered data files to Earth with a priority flag. At the same time, Professor Min-Soo was sitting in his office, staring at a list of classified file categories he had never heard of before. Apex Protocol, Memory Enhancement Program, Human Behavioral Modification Initiative. His computer chimed with an incoming message. It was from Captain Won-Sik Choi, whom he had never heard of. Professor Lee, I understand you're researching early human military history. I've found some information you might find interesting. The files mention something called the Kepler Station Incident. Have you ever heard of this? Min-Soo's hands shook as he typed his reply. No, I haven't, but I think we need to talk. Across human space, similar conversations were beginning to happen. Scientists, historians, military officers, and ordinary citizens were starting to ask questions about their own history. The warning broadcast continued to play every hour, reminding the galaxy not to provoke humans, but the humans themselves were beginning to wonder why such a warning was necessary. In classified archives on a dozen worlds, automated systems detected the increased interest in restricted files. Security protocols activated. Monitoring programs began tracking the humans who were asking too many questions, but it was too late to stop what had started. The truth was beginning to surface, one fragment at a time. Intelligence officer Seo Jun Kim had seen many classified documents in his 15-year career, but nothing like this. The file folder on his desk was marked with security levels he had only heard rumors about. Even his high-level clearance barely qualified him to read it. Ambassador Hai-Jin Lee sat across from him in the secure meeting room. She looked tired and worried. "How much trouble will you get in for showing me this?" she asked. "Probably a lot," Seo Jun replied. "But after hearing about the warning broadcasts and all these strange gaps in our history, I think people deserve to know the truth." He opened the folder carefully. Inside were fragments of files about something called the Kepler Station incident. Most pages were heavily censored with large black sections blocking out text, but enough remained to tell a story. Kepler Station was our first deep space research outpost, Seo Jun explained. It was built 32 years ago, about 300 light-years from Earth. The official records say it was destroyed in an accident. But it wasn't an accident? No. Seo Jun pulled out a partially readable report. It was attacked by the Revek Confederation. Yijin frowned. "I've never heard of them. Most people haven't. They were completely destroyed after what happened at Kepler. But before that, they were known throughout this part of the galaxy as brutal conquerors. They had defeated dozens of species over the past century." Seo Jun showed her a file with alien text and human translations. The Ravek believed humans were weak. They wanted to test our defenses and show other species what would happen if they allied with us. What did happen? Seo Jun turned to the next page. Much of it was blacked out, but he could read enough to understand. The attack began with 12 Ravek warships. They expected to destroy the station quickly and move on. He paused, reading from a partially censored report written by Commander Da-Un Oh, who had been the station's security chief. Day 1. Ravek ships arrived at 0800 hours. Station shields held for 6 hours before failing. Enemy forces boarded at 1400 hours. We have 47 security personnel against approximately 400 Ravek warriors. Hyejin looked confused. 47 against 400? That's impossible odds. Keep listening. Day 2. Ravek control main sections of station. Our forces have retreated to secondary areas. We are using maintenance tunnels and air ducts for movement. Enemy seems surprised by our tactics. Seo Jun turned the page. Day 3, something has changed. The Ravek are no longer advancing. They seem to be afraid. Our people are hunting them through their own captured areas. Lieutenant Suho Kim reports that the enemy is setting up defensive positions instead of attacking. Hunting them. Day 4. The Ravek are trying to evacuate back to their ships. We cannot let them escape. They came here to test us. They must learn what happens when you test a predator species. Seo Jun's voice grew quieter as he read. Day 5, Ravek ground forces eliminated. We now have control of 3 of their ships. The remaining 9 ships are attempting to flee. Commander Yuri Lee has launched pursuit and captured Ravek vessels. Our people captured their ships? Day 6, all 12 original Ravek ships destroyed or captured. Long-range sensors detect Ravek reinforcement fleet approaching. 47 ships. They're coming to find out what happened to their advance force. Hyejin stared at the document. 47 ships? Day 7. Human reinforcement fleet has arrived. 17 ships from Earth Defense Force. The Ravek fleet outnumbers us. But after what our people did to their advance force, I don't think numbers matter anymore. The next several pages were completely blacked out, but at the bottom of the file, Seo Jun found Commander O's final report. Battle concluded. Ravek Confederation fleet destroyed. No survivors. Recommendation: this incident must never be made public. What we did here, what we are capable of. The galaxy is not ready for this knowledge. Seo Jun closed the file. That's where the readable parts end. But there are other documents. He pulled out another folder. Psychological evaluations of human survivors. Reports from alien observers who monitored the battle from a distance. They all say the same thing, which is that humans didn't just win the battle. We terrified everyone who saw it. The way we fought, the tactics we used, the fact that we showed no mercy to an enemy that showed no mercy to others. Other species had never seen anything like it. Hyejin was quiet for a long moment. What happened to the survivors? The humans who fought there? Memory modification. All of them. They were told the battle was classified for security reasons, then given treatments to suppress the memories. And the records? Sealed at the highest levels. Even most human government officials don't know about it. Seo Jun pulled out one more document. This is a Federation Council report from right after the battle. It recommends what they called the Human Pacification Protocol. Pacification? A plan to prevent humans from ever again being in a situation where our true nature would be revealed. The Council was terrified that if other species knew what humans could do, it would start a galaxy-wide war. He-Jin read the document summary. They made a deal with human leaders? Yes. The Federation would guarantee that humans would never be attacked again, never be put in situations where we would need to fight. In exchange, human military records would be classified and human military personnel would undergo memory modifications to suppress their most aggressive instincts. And our leaders agreed to this? Seojun nodded. They thought it was the best way to ensure peace. But look at this final page. The document was a psychological profile of human behavior, written by alien scientists. Humans are apex predators with an evolutionary history of constant warfare. Their capacity for violence is unmatched by any known species. However, they also have strong social bonds and can be peaceful when not threatened. Recommendation: never allow humans to feel threatened as a species. The results would be catastrophic for galactic stability. Hyojin put her head in her hands. So the warning broadcasts are real. The Federation has been protecting other species from us for 30 years, not because we're evil, but because we're too effective at warfare. What about the memory modifications? Are they still working? Seojun looked worried. That's the problem. The files suggest they're starting to fail. People are beginning to remember things, having strange dreams, asking questions about our history. Is that why you decided to show me this? Partly, but also because I think people have a right to know who they really are. They sat in silence for a few minutes thinking about what they had learned. What do we do now? He-Jin asked. I don't know, but I think the choice is going to be made for us. If people keep asking questions, if the memory suppressions keep failing, the truth will come out whether we want it to or not. And then, Seojun looked at the classified files spread across the table. Then we find out what happens when the galaxy's apex predator species remembers what it is. Outside the secure meeting room, automated monitoring systems recorded their conversation and flagged it for immediate review. Across human space, similar flags were being raised as more people accessed classified files and asked dangerous questions. The carefully maintained peace was beginning to crack. And somewhere in the depths of space, species that had lived in safety for 30 years began to feel a familiar fear returning. The humans were waking up. Dr. Ji Wuhan was reviewing patient files on the medical ship Mercy's Light when she found something that made her stop drinking her coffee. The file was labeled Human Psychological Recovery Program and dated from 30 years ago. Inside were treatment records for dozens of human patients, all suffering from what was described as post-combat stress syndrome related to the Kepler defense. The treatments included something called voluntary memory adjustment procedures. Jiwoo had never heard of the Kepler defense. She was a specialist in neurobiology, and she knew that memory adjustment was possible, but it was rarely used except in extreme cases of trauma. She opened one of the patient files, Lieutenant Commander Dong-hyun Park, age 34 at the time of treatment. The notes described severe nightmares, anxiety attacks, and what the doctors called inappropriate aggressive responses to normal stimuli. The treatment plan was extensive. Patient exhibits extreme stress reactions when discussing recent combat operations. Memory suppression recommended to allow normal psychological function. Patient has consented to treatment, but as Jiwoo read further, she realized something disturbing. The same basic treatment had been given to thousands of humans over the years, disguised as routine medical care, memory enhancement, procedures to improve alien language, learning, stress reduction therapy for deep space, personnel, routine neurological health updates. The descriptions were different, but the brain scans and treatment records showed the same pattern. Someone had been systematically modifying human memories for decades. Her communication device chimed. It was a message from her brother Captain Dong-hyun Park. Jiwoo, I need to talk to you. Something strange is happening to me. She called him immediately. What's wrong? I've been having dreams. Memories, I think. But they don't match what I remember about my service record. What kind of memories? Combat, real combat. Ships burning, people dying. But according to my files, I've never been in a real battle. The closest I've come to fighting is training exercises. Jiwoo felt cold. Donghyun, where are you right now? On patrol near the Centauri system. Why? Can you meet me at the Mercy's Light? I think I know what's happening to you. 2 days later, Donghyun arrived at the medical ship. Jiwoo ran a brain scan and compared it to his medical files. What she found confirmed her fears. You've had extensive memory modification, she told him. Multiple procedures over the past 20 years. That's impossible. I would remember that. No, you wouldn't, that's the point. The procedures were designed to make you forget they happened. She showed him the brain scans. See these patterns? They show artificial memory barriers, thoughts and experiences that have been blocked from your conscious mind. Can you reverse it? Maybe. But Donghyun, are you sure you want me to? The memories were suppressed for a reason. I need to know what really happened to me. Jiwoo worked for hours, carefully using medical scanners to probe the blocked areas of his mind. Slowly, memories began to surface. Donghyun's face went pale as he remembered. The Kepler station distress call. I was there. We responded with a fleet of 17 ships. Keep going. The Provoke. They had 47 warships. Everyone said we didn't have a chance. His voice became distant. But we did have a chance. We had something they didn't expect. What? We were humans. We were apex predators, and they had just threatened our people. The memories came flooding back. Donghyun remembered tactical decisions that seemed impossible. Human captains who outthought alien warriors with centuries of experience. Battle strategies that turned the enemy's superior numbers against them. We didn't just win, he whispered. We destroyed them completely. Every ship. Every warrior. We hunted them through space until there was nothing left. Jiwoo recorded everything. How did it make you feel at the time? Proud. Satisfied. They had come to test us, to show the galaxy that humans were weak. We proved them wrong. He paused. But also scared. Scared of what? Scared of ourselves. Of what we were capable of. After the battle, some of the alien observers who had been watching from a distance contacted us. They were terrified. They said they had never seen anything like the way humans fought. What did they say specifically? That we fought like a species that had been at war for millions of years. That we showed no hesitation, no mercy, no fear. They said watching us in battle was like watching evolution's perfect predator in action. The door to the medical bay opened. Ambassador Hyejin Lee entered with intelligence officer Seo-jun Kim. Dr. Han, we need to talk, Hyejin said. We know about the memory modifications. How? Because they're failing across human space. People are remembering things they're not supposed to remember. Seo-jun activated a portable holographic display. We've been monitoring communication channels. Reports are coming in from dozens of worlds. Humans are having dreams, recovered memories, psychological breaks. The display showed a map of human space with thousands of red dots. Each dot represents someone who has contacted medical or military authorities about recovered memories. The pattern is accelerating. What's causing it? Jiwoo asked. We think the memory suppression technology was designed to fade over time, Hyejin replied. Probably as a safety measure. But it means the cover-up is ending whether anyone wants it to or not. Donghyun looked at the display. How are other species reacting? They're terrified, Seo-jun said bluntly. 3 days ago, the Zephyrian Trade Council sent an emergency diplomatic message to Earth. They wanted to confirm that the memory suppressions were still working. What did Earth tell them? Nothing, because Earth's leadership is starting to remember too. Hyejin activated another display. Yesterday I met with the Federation High Council. They admitted everything. The deal they made with human leaders 30 years ago, the memory modifications, the classified files. They also admitted something else, Seo-jun added. The warning broadcasts that have been playing? They're not just warnings. They're panic signals. What do you mean? Other species have been paying tribute to human space for decades. They call it cultural exchange programs and trade agreements, but it's really tribute. Payment to make sure humans stay peaceful. Jiwoo stared at them. Tribute? The Altarians have been sending us advanced technology disguised as gifts. The Vegan Collective has been giving us preferential trade rates that cost them billions of credits. Even species we've never officially had contact with have been routing ships around human space. They've been afraid of us this whole time? Not just afraid, Hyejin said quietly. The council told me something else. After the Kepler incident, they consulted with military strategists from dozens of species. The analysis was unanimous, which was, if humans ever decided to expand aggressively into alien space, no combination of existing species could stop us. Our military thinking is too different, too effective. Donghyun laughed bitterly. So they decided to drug us into forgetting who we are. They thought it was the only way to prevent a galactic war that would end with human dominance over every other species. The room was quiet for a moment. What happens now? Jiwoo asked. Now we wait, Hyejin replied. Because across human space, people are remembering what we really are. And the galaxy is about to find out what happens when you try to cage a predator species for 30 years. Outside the medical ship, long-range sensors detected massive fleet movements. Species that had lived in peace were mobilizing their militaries. Not to attack human space, but to defend their own worlds from what they feared was coming. The memory suppressions were failing. The truth was spreading, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humans would do when they remembered their true nature. General Kyung-Soo Lim woke up screaming. The dream had been so real. Massive space battles, tactical displays showing enemy formations, the satisfaction of watching hostile fleets burn. But according to his service records, he had spent 20 years managing a peaceful diplomatic military force. He sat up in bed, his hands shaking. The dreams had been getting stronger for weeks, but this one was different. This one felt like a memory. His communication device was flashing with urgent messages, hundreds of them from military bases across human space, all reporting the same thing. Their personnel were having psychological episodes. He called his aide, Colonel Sujin Yang. What's the situation report? Sir, it's happening everywhere. Military personnel are reporting recovered memories of battles that aren't in any official records. Some of them are claiming they remember commanding fleets in major wars. How many people? As of this morning, over 50,000 reports. And the number is growing every hour. Kyung-Soo got dressed quickly and went to his office. On his desk was a classified file that had been declassified overnight by emergency order. The cover read, Human Military Capabilities True Assessment. He opened it with trembling hands. The file contained technical specifications for weapons he didn't remember designing, but somehow understood perfectly, ship designs that looked familiar. Despite being completely different from current human vessels, battle tactics that seemed obvious to him, even though he had never seen them before. My God, he whispered. What were we? His aide entered. Sir, we have an emergency communication from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Sujin Yang is requesting immediate conference with all sector commanders. Admiral Yang? I thought she was retired. So did everyone else. But apparently she's been running classified operations for the past 15 years. Operations that aren't classified anymore. The conference call connected commanders from across human space. Kyung-Soo looked at their faces on the screen and saw the same confusion and growing understanding he felt. Admiral Yang spoke first. I assume you're all experiencing memory recovery. Good. It means the suppressions are finally breaking down. Admiral, asked Commander Hae-Won Lee from the Outer Rim. What suppressions? The memory modifications we all agreed to 30 years ago. After Kepler Station, the name hit Kyung-Soo like a physical blow. Suddenly he could remember the distress call, the response fleet, the Ravek Confederation's attack, and what humans had done in response. We destroyed them, he said quietly. All of them. Not just destroyed, Yang replied. We hunted them. We showed the galaxy what happens when you threaten humans. Around the conference, other commanders were nodding as their own memories returned. But why did we agree to forget? Asked General Bo-Ram Choi. Because the alternative was a galactic war that would have ended with human domination over every other species. The Federation was terrified of us, so we made a deal. Yang activated a holographic display showing current galactic military positions. But the deal is over now. The memory suppressions were designed to fade after 30 years. Which means right now, across human space, our people are remembering who they really are. What does that mean for the galaxy? Kyung-Soo asked. Look at the display. The hologram showed massive military movements across alien space. Fleets mobilizing, defense networks activating, entire species preparing for war. They're not preparing to attack us, Yang explained. They're preparing to defend themselves from us. Are we going to attack them? That depends on what we decide we are now that we remember the truth. Kyung-soo looked at the technical specifications on his desk again. These weapon systems, these ship designs, were we really building these? We never stopped building them. The research continued in classified programs. We've been preparing for war for 30 years without consciously knowing it. On Earth, Professor Min-Soo Lee was teaching a very different kind of history class. His students sat in shocked silence as he explained what he had learned about humanity's true place in the galaxy. For 30 years, we've been told we were peaceful explorers who joined a galactic community as equals, he said. The truth is that we're the apex predator species that other civilizations pay tribute to in order to avoid extinction. Student Yoo-Jin Park raised her hand. Professor, if we're so dangerous, why haven't we conquered the galaxy? Because we chose not to. Because our leaders decided that peace was more important than dominance. But that choice was made for us through memory modification. And now? Now we have to choose again. But this time, we'll make the choice knowing who we really are. Across the galaxy, alien species watched human space with growing fear. The warning broadcast had stopped playing. Instead, human ships were beginning to move in formation patterns that military analysts recognized as pre-combat positioning. On Nexus Prime, the Federation High Council held an emergency session. Ambassador Hee-Jin Lee sat in the human representative chair, but she was no longer the same person who had been confused by the warning broadcasts weeks earlier. She remembered everything now. Honored Council, she said, her voice carrying new authority. We need to discuss the future of human Federation relations. The alien representatives shifted nervously. The council leader, a tall being from the Altarian system, spoke first. Ambassador Lee, we hope that humans will continue to honor the peace accords despite the recent changes. You mean despite the fact that we now remember you drugged an entire species into forgetting its own nature? It was done to prevent galactic warfare. It was done because you were afraid of us. Yes, the council leader admitted. We were afraid. We still are. Hee-Jin looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives of dozens of species. Good, fear keeps people honest. What does humanity want? That's what we're trying to decide. For 30 years you made our choices for us. Now we're making our own choices. And if humans choose war? Hee-Jin was quiet for a long moment. Council leader, I want you to understand something. Every species in this chamber achieved spaceflight through cooperation and peaceful development. Humans achieved spaceflight while fighting a global war. We went to the stars because we ran out of room to fight each other on our homeworld. We know this. Do you? Because I don't think you understand what it means. Every other species sees space as a place to explore and trade. Humans see space as the ultimate battlefield. Every star system is a strategic position. Every asteroid belt is a weapons manufacturing site. Every planet is either an asset to be protected or a threat to be neutralized. The chamber was completely silent. But here's what you never understood about us, Hee-Jin continued. We're not mindless killers. We're apex predators. We kill when we need to and we show mercy when we choose to. What are you saying? I'm saying that humans are going to continue being part of the Federation. But on our terms now, not yours. And those terms are? No more memory modifications. No more classified human history. No more tribute disguised as trade agreements. And no more warning broadcasts. How do we know humans won't use their military advantage to dominate other species? Hee-Jin smiled. And for the first time, the alien representative saw why their species had been afraid. Because we don't need to dominate you. We already do. She activated a holographic display. These are the real patrol routes of human ships for the past 30 years. These are the real defensive positions we've maintained. These are the real military assets we've built. The display showed that human military forces had been positioned to control every major trade route and strategic system in the galaxy, not to attack other species but to protect them from each other, while maintaining overwhelming tactical superiority. You've been living in a human-protected galaxy for 3 decades, she said. The only thing that's changing is that now we're doing it consciously. The council leader's species had no visible facial expressions, but his body language showed defeat. What assurance do we have that humans will continue to be merciful? The same assurance you've always had. That we choose to be. Hee-Jin stood to leave. Oh, and council leader? The tribute payments will continue. But we're calling them what they are now. As she left the chamber, the alien representative sat in stunned silence. Outside, human ships moved through space with new purpose, their crews finally understanding their true role as the galaxy's guardians and apex predators. The warning broadcasts had been replaced by a simple message transmitted on all frequencies. The human species remembers. Act accordingly. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in peace for 30 years settled into a new reality. The humans were awake now, and that changed everything.